You know, a lot of people think that land takes months and months to sell, and it's those same people who still haven't been able to get their first deal and break $10,000 a month. And the truth is, for them, it actually does take months and months to sell. But that's not the case for us. See, myself and my clients, we're selling land in 90 days or less because of the strategy that I'm about to show you in this video. And if you like being poor, by all means, skip this video and continue doing what you're doing. But if you want to start doing land deals like this, and this every single month, then you need to listen up. Because finding the best markets for land where your land can sell in 90 days or less, it isn't by luck, okay? It's a systematic process backed by data. And there are two key stats that we're going to be looking for. And without them, you're out of luck. Get them right, and you're going to have land flying off the shelf. Now, in order to do this, we need to break conventional wisdom and do the process differently than most land flippers. So let's dive into the details. I want to find where the buyers are first. You might be wondering, why would I start by finding buyers instead of finding sellers first? Well, think about it. A land business is built on the laws of supply and demand. And if there's no demand, there is no business. You always want to start with the end in mind, finding where the demand is, where the buyers are, right? Because not every market is the same or has the same demand. And the last thing that you'd want is to have a deal on your hands that you can't sell because there is no demand in that area. And the problem is that most other land flippers have that exact issue because they're focused on just getting any deal possible. And because of that, they tend to gravitate toward the worst areas of the countries to buy land in, where sellers are just giving away their land, like the Southwest, buying these desert squares and stuff like that. And then they struggle to sell the land. It takes them 6-12 months. That's the exact opposite of what we want to do. We find markets in the county where there are a ton of buyers. That way we completely eliminate that problem. Because the markets we're working in have a huge amount of buyers, on average, the markets we work in, land is selling in 90 days or less. I've even seen properties move as fast as 2 weeks, like this one deal our client Aurelio sold in 2 weeks, okay? Now you're probably wondering, well, how do I find these markets where there are tons of buyers in the first place? Let's dive into it because it really comes down to two key statistics. Number one is obviously location. As you know, in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. But with land, we're looking for a bit of a different location than traditional real estate. Let me explain. See, a lot of people think that they should target the hottest areas where the most amount of building is happening, right? In major cities and stuff like that. And the problem with that strategy is that's exactly what everyone else is thinking. Meaning there is a massive amount of competition for land like that. And you're competing against the big boys. I'm talking about national home builders, D.R. Horton, stuff like that. People who have been doing this for decades, and that's a losing battle. And beyond that, sellers in these markets are harder to work with, as we're going to talk about in a few minutes, okay? Instead, what you want to do is go after rural land. Rural land is land that is 1 to 3 hours outside of a major city. So we're doing just that. We're looking for counties that are 1 to 3 hours outside of the big cities. And we do this because this is far enough from the city that we won't have to compete with everyone else, but also close enough that people from the city will be buying land in this area. And this is one of the big keys here. Because we're going after land that is rural, land that is 5+ acres, we have multiple types of buyers for it. So compared to little 1 acre lots or less that are in the city that most people are going after, they only have one buyer type for them. Right? Someone who wants to build a home. And if you can't build a home on it, then those lots are worthless. People can use land that we're getting for multiple reasons. They can hunt, they can camp, they can build if they desire. Because of this, we now have a buyer pool of not just one type of buyer, but 3. And beyond this, since the land we're going after has multiple uses, not just building a home, it isn't correlated with the housing market. Meaning that if the housing market has a down year, then the land we're going after is largely unaffected. And this is why I love investing in rural land, because it's one of the safest investments out there. So now, once we've identified the counties that are 1 to 3 hours outside the major cities, we have to move on to the second key that we need. And key number 2 is what's called the sell-through rate. Now, this tells us how much of the current land for sale is selling in a 3-month period, 90 days. We want to target counties where 100% of the inventory is selling in 90 days. And this is as simple as going to redfin.com. You're going to search for the listings that are active in that county. And then you're going to see how many were sold in the last 3 months. And we want to see that the amount of listings sold in the last 3 months is more than the number of listings active in the market, or at least the very same. Okay? And now that you've done this, you've identified the best markets to flip land in. And one of the big keys is this. When you're going after these rural areas where it's not as competitive as, these infill lots in the city that everyone else is doing, the sellers that you're working with, here's the key. They actually want to sell to you. They're not jaded. They're willing to sell below market value because they haven't been bombarded by every other investor. And this is why it works so well. And if you want to know the areas and countries to start looking in, avoid the areas that everyone else is thinking of. Avoid going to Orlando, Florida, and Tampa, these places that are highly competitive. Instead, focus on the areas that most people aren't thinking about. Think about the Midwest, places like Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana. And think about other places in the Southeast that are rural, parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, right? Parts of Tennessee. When you target these areas, you're going to have an unfair advantage. And when you follow this process, your land is going to be flying off the shelves. So take what you learned in this video, apply it. I'll see you in the next one.